All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Tech and Tell podcast. I'm your host, Jacinta Fabi, also a product designer. And yeah, today we're talking about something that every designer hears about, but not everyone fully understands, and that's proving design impact with data. So at some point in your career, I know it's no longer just about, what you design as a product designer. It becomes more about what changed because of your design. Now, I see a lot of designers are doing really great work out there and like they're improving flows, they're redesigning experiences, and they're making things, more usable. But when it comes to explaining the impacts, it often, sound vague and generic sometimes, especially when we hear things like, oh yeah, this design was intuitive, but how do we know and measure that, right? Especially when we're communicating with stakeholders or leadership. So today I'm joined by another product designer who understands how to connect design decisions to measurable outcome. Welcome, Jeff. Really glad to have you here on the call.
Thank you so much, Jacinta, for having me. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so in this episode, we're going to talk about how designers can move from subjective opinions to, clear data-backed impact, and also talk about what design impact actually means in measurable terms, how to think about metrics as a designer, how to collaborate product and data team, also how to communicate, your impact clearly, whether in your reviews, your portfolio, or stakeholder conversations. Yeah, so before we get into the topic itself, we'd like to get to know a little bit more about Jeff. So, Jeff, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about you, your journey into product design, and yeah, any other information you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm Jefferson. I work as product designer more than 10 years now. So I'm from the time where we were all called web designers, not actually product designers yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started my career in Brazil, where I spent over 6 years working in a university, helping them to improve their product and also connect the product with the students and the professors and everything. And then I got the opportunity to move to Estonia, and there stayed for 1 year, working in a digital banking called Monese. Um, I stayed there for one year, and then I got the opportunity to move to Germany. And here at Germany, I am for 5 to 6 years now. And I initially worked on a mobility industry, and now I'm working in the insurance kind of area. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Jeff. It's really good to see like how, the trajectory of things right from Brazil and now in Germany. Really, really good to see. So going back to the topic of today, we want to start from like the grassroots, like the introduction of it. So when we talk about design impact in general, what does that actually mean in a product sense or in a business context?
Mhm. I think that both are very well connected, the two things, or it's more like one thing leads to another. I think that design impact is when you are able to prove that your design somehow changed the user's behavior.
Okay.
And usually, like you as a designer, you want to change the user behavior for some purpose. And that is the moment where you should think about the business metrics. Like, what do you want to change in your user behavior that will affect the metrics? It will cause impact into the business as well. And that's how like you connect design with impact in your business.
Yeah, okay. So now thinking about that, at what point in the product life cycle do you think designers should start thinking about, this data and, this impact? At what point should we as product designers have that in mind?
Yeah, I think very honestly, we should think about this as soon as possible. Like in the beginning of your discovery, like your first conversations with your product manager,
Mhm.
and also with your team, doesn't matter the setup. I
Yeah.
think it's important that you like have a conversation about what are we trying to achieve here? Like, what is the state of what we have today?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we make sure that by the end of this project,
Hmm.
this state will be better? And what is better? Like, is it uh, because you have to define what will prove that to be better? Is it
Yeah.
making things faster? Is it increasing the activation rate of
Yeah.
this feature, or reducing the churn
Yeah.
of inside your product? So it's very important that you, right in the beginning, have an idea of what you want. What do you
Yeah.
want to, where do you want to get? Otherwise, it kind of gets lost.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. That it's, always necessary and always key to have those, conversations early on in the product life cycle. But then as product designers, so we are responsible for making design decisions, and also we should have like we should have like our reasons behind those decisions that we make. But then again, how do we then translate those design decisions that we take on certain products or
Mhm.
features? How do we translate them into measurable business metrics?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that is important that right from the beginning you also understand very well your business, like the business that you are working on,
Okay.
and also have it defined with your team, your group. Like,
Okay.
what are we trying to improve here? Because most of the times designers think that just changing the UI, just improving the flow in a UI perspective will automatically improve something in your product. But that's not necessarily right, because sometimes a UI change is not enough for
Mhm.
bringing connecting this into a user behavior, or making a change on a user behavior level.
Mhm.
So sometimes we have to leave our egos on the side, go for the simplest solutions,
Yeah.
but that will actually affect the user behavior. That sometimes the simple solutions is what it's gonna change the user behavior, and then you have a metric that you can measure, like the user is able now to do onboarding way more faster because you reduced 8 steps into 6 now,
Yeah.
in your designs. So that's how you translate design into business metrics, because you are making the process of activation in this example way faster. So you are reducing the churn of this user to leave that flow.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot about understanding where do you want to get, and also what is possible to do, because sometimes you have some tech limitations that doesn't allow you to make things faster or better, but and then you have to be a little bit more slow in the process of explaining the user how to do things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think you also mentioned something around activation metrics, and I know there are like a bunch of them. Customer satisfaction score, NPS, time to task, engagement
Hmm.
metrics, and a whole bunch of other metrics. So there are a whole bunch of them, and they can sometimes be overwhelming. So how do we, as product designers, identify which metrics actually matter, for a specific
Hmm.
project or product, or maybe feature that we're working on? How do we identify which metrics matter?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest work
Yeah.
that we have in this area.
Mhm.
Especially if you are a junior in a role, or like if you are not for too long in that company,
Yeah.
it's hard to understand the whole business environment and understand what is important, where are the tricky, where are the pitfalls.
Mhm.
Um, so I think you have to since the day one embrace the business to kind of understand where it can be better. And
Okay.
then every time it's more like creating the habit in your mind of every time that you are designing a new flow, designing a new project, you think, okay, what do I want to improve with that? What are the metrics that I am able to increase with my design?
Yeah.
Because like get some metrics, it's very easy. You can ask the engineers and then collect a bunch of data. But
Yeah.
what is the real important one for that specific feature that you are doing? You
Yeah.
have to start connecting these ideas, connecting what is important for the feature and what is important for the company,
Yeah.
and then connecting the two dots. Um, I think today we can use a lot of AI to support us in terms of triggering questions, like a basic example, the onboarding one, as I said before.
Yeah.
If you just shoot that to the AI, they will already raise for you like a bunch of possible metrics that you could be checking on.
Yeah.
And then this is also a starting point. You can then filter out of it what is important for your business and not, or maybe
Mhm.
even trigger more questions to AI to see like for this business, what would be more important, and then start the conversation and trying to learn out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the mention of that using AI as one of the like collaborative tools that you can use to like speed up, your workflow in that area.
Mhm.
Yeah, so as we've mentioned, like a couple of metrics, and with also AI being like a collaborator in that regard, what other tools do you see or do you use? To track and measure design impacts, talking about analytics, user journeys, heat maps, and things like that. What are the, tools out there that can help with,
Mhm.
tracking, yeah.
Yeah, I think that depends a lot of the goal of your project or what you are trying to achieve. So if you are losing to quantitative data, you usually use Google Analytics, Mixpanel, these kinds of tools. When you are checking more like user behavior, then you go for something like Hotjar for checking heat maps, this kind of stuff. Um, and then if you are doing A/B testing, then like it's more about putting two solutions one against the other and see which one performs better. So there is some tools that does that for you automatically, but it's also possible to be done internally with your team can split the navigation and then
Yeah.
put users to go halfway here, halfway there, and see which one brings more return for you. So yeah, I think that the tools that are there are those. There are, of course, many more, but you can also use AI for that too as well. So, for example, the A/B testing. You can put one design against the other to ChatGPT, for example, and ask it like which one performs better based on this, on that, and then it will bring you like the pros and cons of each of the solutions of the designs, the screens that you put there. So I think we can make a lot of use of AI now. We are in the area of AI, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's important that we make ourselves even more smart with it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I also want to like circle back to like something you said about when I asked how you can identify which metrics matters for like specific projects. And then I think you mentioned that mostly maybe junior designers who might not like have a lot of experience might struggle a bit in that area. But then include aside junior, designers now, speaking in general terms, what are like some of the mistakes that you've seen designers make when they're trying to, measure impact based on their designs?
I think the most common mistake is only start doing the metrics or thinking about metrics after the the feature is launched or the
Yeah.
product is launched.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that myself in the past. I'm not gonna lie.
Uh,
But it's also like a little bit of you start working on the process, and then at the end you check, you go to your devs, and then you ask, okay, what can we measure out of it? That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Like it's completely like, okay, because it's important that you have a starting point and
Hmm.
an end point, so
Yeah.
you can have a comparison. Otherwise, you are just analyzing data randomly. It's nothing for you. So I think that the biggest mistake is letting the metrics for the end of the project
Mm.
and the discovery and everything.
Yeah.
So start as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And also, don't try to track everything. Like, it's not about tracking all the clicks and all the buttons. That's not important.
Yeah.
It's more about tracking what is important that affects your business, your
Mhm.
goals, yeah, this
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that point of not tracking, like tracking everything and being overwhelmed with like a lot of data, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
I like
you can have like a lake of data, but what do you do with that? Like,
yeah.
why do I want to know if the user, I don't know, click the cancel button
Mm,
instead of the other one, if there
yeah,
is no correlation with the flow that I am working on.
yeah.
So it has to make sense.
Make
Like the flow and what you track and what you are tracking has to make sense. Otherwise, it's just random data and you cannot do much with that.
Yeah, I agree. So just track what is relevant to your flow and yeah, to your design.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So what's thinking about in like futuristically now, what do you think the future of like data-driven design looks like? If you were to, have a look up front, what do you think that future looks like for data-driven designs?
Mm. I think that data-driven designs, it's becoming something that empowers the designers
Mm-hmm.
to take more decision.
Mm-hmm.
How so? How come, or how so? So in the beginning, we used to do a lot of designing by the fact of just design, and sometimes not even taking a place at the table and being able to participate on the decisions because we were not involved with the goals, with the business, with the environment of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And now when we have like data information and we are able to use this data to put this inside our designs and then affect the outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
this puts us in a position of very strong people that can shape the future of this feature, the future of this product.
Yeah.
So it's important. Like, I think that data-driven design, it's like the thing that is empowering us to take our place at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and we already had before qualitative information data
Yeah.
by doing research, and now we have the quantitative uh, force as well. So we have to combine these two things,
Yeah.
and then we are in a very good position, whatever we work.
Yeah, so so if a junior designer is listening, or maybe a product designer in general that does not like know a lot about metrics, a lot about data, what's the first step you think such a designer should take for them to start measuring their design impacts in their flows, products or feature, whatever it is that they might be working on?
Mhm. If you are a senior designer and you are not tracking anything, I would say start now. Start doing, like, it doesn't need to you don't need to track everything, but you need to have at least one thing that you are tracking
Mhm.
and learning out of it. You have to learn what tracking is possible, and how can this empower you to do a better design.
Mhm.
So I think start as soon as you can.
Yeah.
If you are a junior, I would say dive deep into the business. Understand if you are joining a company today, if you are starting a new feature today, dive deep into the business. Understand what is the goal of that.
Yeah.
Why are we working? Why are we working on this feature? What is this feature going to bring to these users?
Yeah.
Like, what is this feature going to bring to the company? Like, understanding really, like, from your heart,
Yeah.
like, what is the meaning of all of this? Um, because this will give you like the knowledge to
Mm-hmm.
understand how to start tracking stuff, tracking metrics, and then how to start designing for then affect the metrics. So and that in that goes at the same direction as the other advice, like start now, start small, and then you get there as soon as you start doing this for every feature. You get familiar with this process of tracking. So it's a learning process that as soon as you get comfortable with it, you will start flying with your designs in a way better direction.
Yeah.
I also like that. To be very honest, I also like that a lot because for us designers, it's
Yeah.
very common that everyone wants to give an opinion to our work.
Yeah.
Like like the bakery guy, the the side store guy, everyone wants to say like, why is this purple? Why is this green? Why
Yeah.
is this? Everyone wants to question something
Mm-hmm.
because our work is very visual sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And one way of kind of defend ourselves against these kind of comments and thoughts
Mm-hmm.
is having data to back us up,
Yeah.
having these informations to back us up and make sure that we are not taking random decisions. We are taking informative decisions
Yeah.
based on data, based on research, based on things that we believe that are serious for this business. So I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff, for that. I think one key takeaway is from all you said is that design impacts, isn't just something you feel, it's something, that you can define, something you can measure and also communicate. And also the earlier designers start, thinking about um data impact metrics,
Mhm.
the earlier they start thinking about, the stronger their work becomes and also their influence becomes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing, your insights to really go a long way. Thank you so much for being on the call.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to participate here with you and
Yeah.
talking about this topic. I mean, it's something that it was really good to.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you. Hey, Jacinta, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I had issues with my internet. I had to quickly switch.
All good.
Yeah,
No
so
problem. All good.
yeah. Okay, so you were
All good.
saying
But
something.
yeah, I was just saying that it's really good it was really good to like do this podcast with you, do this episode because
Yeah.
it also took me a little bit of time to prepare myself and then review things that I had forgotten because I like you when you are doing designs every day on a daily
Mhm.
basis, sometimes you forget the basic stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really good for me to refresh my mind and also put myself more aware of things that I have to do more often, you know. It was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff. Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll be signing out now. And yeah, if you're listening, I hope this helped you, start thinking about your work, not just in terms of your output, but also the outcome and also impact as well. And if you found this helpful, please share it with another designer who's trying to grow, in this area. Until then, see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.